Hello and welcome to StudyIQ, my dear friends. I am Prashant Mavani. I hope you all are doing good. Today is 30th March 2020. Last night I was reading a book and I came across a very interesting quote by Charlie Chaplin. Nothing is permanent in this wicked world, not even our troubles. At present, the biggest trouble that the world is facing is coronavirus. This is not a permanent problem. We have to understand this thing. So, this I see this particular quote from this angle that it gives me a ray of hope that it creates a sort of optimism within us. But at the same time, we have to understand that we have to play our part. Like, for example, as citizens, we have to follow lockdown. For those people who are working in medical field, they are doing their bits. We have to do our bits. Everyone has to play a role. Then only we can get rid of this trouble. This trouble is not a permanent one, but it's on us, right? If we don't act properly, then this can become a permanent problem. With this, dear friends, we have many interesting articles on our table. The first one is Everyone Counts. This one is about Census 2021. And government has decided that it is going to postpone this census 2021 because of course, coronavirus. Then we have one of the most important article of the day, The Deep Void in Global Leadership. This article is talking about the problems that the world is facing as far as leadership is concerned, why we are facing this problem. And this article is also talking about 6-7 important steps that we need to take to get rid of this or to fight this coronavirus. Then you have this article, Looking Beyond Just Diagnosis and Quarantine. This article is too technical, and I believe this article is written, keeping in mind those people who are working in this medical field. But there are a few points that are important from GS point of view as well. So we are going to talk about those points. Then you have these two articles here. Both these articles are criticizing government, and I agree with these two articles, not thoroughly, but there are a few points that we have to means there are a few points, they are right as well, they are logical. A few points are a bit harsh, but a few points are right as well. So we are going to talk about those important points that we find in both these articles, and then we have some important news items as well. So let's crack on. But before that, dear friends, I would like to introduce all of you to our pen drive and tablet courses, which are available for various different competitive exams. You can purchase them from StudyIQ.com. They are designed by best faculties of our country, and with the help of our pen drive and tablet courses, there are thousands of students out there. They have cracked various different competitive exams as well. To download the PDF of today's lecture, check out my Telegram channel. Please make sure that you share this lecture with other students. Hit the like button if you have learned something from today's discussion. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Now, the central government has decided that it is going to postpone this first phase of census 2021 that was going to start from 1st April. And the main reason, of course, we all know is coronavirus. At present, the main priority, the top priority is to make sure that this whole graph, right, means if we go through today's news items as well, the graph is going up. It is skyrocketing. Gradually, it is skyrocketing, and this is a matter of concern. So, first priority is to fight coronavirus, to rein this coronavirus. And India is still struggling to make sense of the extent and intensity of the pandemic and the accompanying and inevitable economic calamity. Economic damage is going to be there, right? 21-day lockdown is a big thing. We are going to see social damage as well. We are going to see many deaths as well. I'm being very blunt here, being very harsh, but being very realistic as well. The way things are going on, if we don't behave, if we don't play our part, then things are going to, it can quickly, in a snap, it can go out of control. And India we are still not sure how much damage this coronavirus is going to create. We even don't know how many people in our country they are affected by this virus. As you know that in our earlier discussions, we have talked about this thing that South Korea has scanned. When I say scanned, I'm talking about testing people. They have tested out of somewhere around 10 lakh people, 1 million. Out of 1 million people, they are on an average testing somewhere around 18,000 people, right? In our country, out of 1 million, or you can say 10 lakh people, we have scanned some 11 people, 11 individuals. South Korea, 1 million people, 18,000, approx 18,000 people were scanned. Here, approx 11 people. That's it, 11. Not 11,000, just 11. If you go through news item of last Saturday, then our Chief Secretary Rajiv Gauba has written to Chief Secretaries of various different states, and he has said that some 15 lakh people who have arrived in our country from January till now, we have not tested them properly. Approx 15 lakh people are not scanned properly. So we don't know the extent and intensity of this coronavirus in our country, right? And I'm not trying to scare you people. I'm not trying to create that panic. But it is very important. The only thing I think that we can do is to stay indoors and to keep and maintain this social distancing. Just imagine that if let's hope that after this total 21 days, if this lockdown will get over, then post-lockdown as well, it will take at least few weeks for us to get back to our normal daily life, right? Daily life will take a few weeks' time for this normalcy to return. And at present, the best thing that we can do again is to get all resources on board, public, yani ki government resources as well as private resources. There's people, there are so many people, they are coming out, big celebrities, big names, and not just big names, individuals as well. They are coming out and they are contributing whatever they can, whatever their capacity is. They are giving money. They are giving this money to a particular fund. So can you give me the name of this latest fund that is released by Government of India? What is the name of that fund? Stick your answer in the comment section. And I will personally request you guys that if possible, even if you can donate 1 rupee, right? If that is possible, then do it. If money is a problem for you, if you cannot donate it, then don't feel negative about yourself. It's okay, right? It's okay if you cannot donate money. If you are going through some tough financial condition, that's fine. Just stay home, pray for people, right? Spread positive messages. Create optimism. So this is again a very important thing. These are soft things that are important. There are people who are helping the world by doing both. There are people who are helping people by giving money. There are people who are providing their services. There are people who are creating awareness. There are people who are staying indoors and they are helping. So whatever you can do, I think we should do it so that we can control this. We have to unite. That's the only thing. We have to have this unshakable national unity, and unfortunately at present, people are, I'll take you through the news items as well, and then you will realize that it's my point of view. I don't think that people of India are doing enough. There are so many people they are doing, but there are thousands and there are there are so many people out there. They are not playing their part. And this is a very sad thing. The pandemic is a reminder that the future of humanity is collective. Either we will swim together or we will sink together. We have to understand this thing. And of course, it's quite logical that this main article is about Census 2021. So government has decided to postpone this thing because who is going to give you information in this time? First thing, no one. Second thing, when we are talking about humanity, when we are talking about national unity, there are few states they have opposed this Citizenship Amendment Act of 2019. So this gives us an opportunity. When I say us, I'm talking about individuals, citizens, as well as government, state governments as well as central government. It gives us an opportunity to think more about this Citizenship Amendment Act 2019. If people are against it, then why they're against it, we need to get rid of all those confusions that are there, and then we can collect this data. Moving on to the most important article of the day, it's the deep void in global leadership. From the name itself, from the title itself, there is a deep void. If I ask you this question, who is the main leader who is acting as a glue for the whole world? Who is a leader who is directing the whole world how to fight against this coronavirus? There is no one, literally no one. There is no organization as well. If you analyze, if you collect the facts of our world and today's challenge, then it creates a big, it shivers us that there is no leader who can, when I say a leader, I'm not talking about just an individual, I'm talking about an organization or a country that can lead the whole world in this war against coronavirus. The G20 has just had a virtual meeting, and I must mention this thing here, and I'm not for a particular political party here, right? I'm seeing it as an educator, right? It is very important for me to be impartial, and I believe I am impartial. So here when I'm saying Narendra Modi, I'm talking about India, right? Indian Prime Minister, it was his idea that we should at least go for a virtual meeting. Physical meeting is not possible, so we should have a G20 virtual meeting. And this was taken very well by Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is in 2020, in the year 2020, Saudi Arabia is the chair country of this G20. So a virtual meeting was conducted. In this virtual meeting, Prime Minister Modi he shared his, he shared few facts with us. Like the first thing is that this G20 countries, they represent 80% of global GDP. 80%. As far as this coronavirus deaths are concerned, some 88%, roughly 88% deaths took place in this G20 countries. As far as this spread is concerned, then somewhere around 90% of the spread is again in this G20 countries. So it is important for G20 nations that they come together and they do something about it. And the good thing is that G20 leaders have agreed to inject $5 trillion into world economy. This is very important. This is significant. And thank you, G20 leaders, for taking this decision. But there is a problem, the problem of leadership. If you see the way China has behaved, or the way China has executed this whole thing, China delayed reporting the virus to World Health Organization. World Health Organization did the same thing. In this initial phase, World Health Organization took this thing very lightly. There were, I would say, loopholes in the behavior of WHO. And because of this thing, WHO normally is a body that looks after all these sort of things. But I would say that the action of WHO was not up to the mark. Then Mr. Trump as well, Trump administration did not even inform the European Union before it shut off flights from Europe. So we can see this fragmented world. But one thing again positive about India is that we came out with this idea of a SARC emergency fund, COVID-19 SARC emergency fund. India is a main country that took lead in this thing. And this is one of the most positive example that you can see in today's world. The best example. I don't know, I'm not aware about any other sort of example like this. So India played a very important role, and I can clearly see that India can act as a leader as well. Why? We'll talk about it. That will be our last statement of this particular lecture. Not lecture, but this particular article. Now, we have to understand this thing, that as long as this virus is alive, right, even if we create shutdowns, once we open this shutdowns or lockdowns, then there is always going to be a threat of this virus and its spread. And there are doctors, they are saying that unless we develop this herd immunity, this is going to come back and hit us very badly. So the way things are going on, this leaders, the way these countries are behaving, they are looking after their own back. This is a war against coronavirus. This is a war. In this war, we have on one side, we have coronavirus. On the other side, we have humanity. Only with this human force, only with collaboration, we can defeat this coronavirus. There are two reasons, right? There are two main reasons why we have this sort of situation. The first thing is the swing towards right-wing nationalism. And I'm not blaming just Mr. Trump here. Of course, he's also responsible for this right-wing nationalism, but is not the only one. And why? I have few examples. I'll share a few examples with you guys. Now, let's first of all understand this right-wing nationalism. Like when I say understand, it's basically, I'm going to be very brief here because we have other things to discuss as well. But right-wing nationalism, there is a whole wave, for a very long period of time, like from last, I would say, roughly 6-7 years, right? There is a whole wave of right-wing nationalism going on in Western world. So Mr. Trump, during his campaign, he said that he's going to take America out of this Paris 2015 deal. Now imagine we are talking about a country that is the biggest, when I say biggest, I mean to say the largest economy in the world. Then you have a country that has been one of the most responsible nation when it comes to this, emitting all this greenhouse gases. And global climate change is not a problem of developing world alone. It is one of the most, you can say one of the biggest threat for humanity, and not just humanity. It's the biggest threat for the whole world. And you have a leader who is freely talking about looking after his own country and looking after his own country's economical interest. And he's not the only one. As I told you, there is a whole wave. So if you go through the political history of Europe, recent past, of course, then you have this, France president, his rival during this election, after this Franco-Hollande elections took place, and there were a few political parties. They are like they were clearly talking about this, their views, far right-wing views. They were clearly talking this thing, over the internet, over their media interviews and everything. They were, anti-migrant, their whole, their viewpoints, and looking after their own country, and creating this protectionism walls and things. And unfortunately, few of these parties, they have been victorious as well in various different countries of Europe. So this right wing is one of the main reason, because this has created this, this has divided the world. Now, most of the countries are behaving in such a way like that they are not part of this world. They are, limited with their political borders. Second thing is multilateral institutions, that they have failed. United Nations has failed. If you go through the history of United Nations, then I'm not saying that totally United Nations is useless thing. No, I'm not saying that. It has positives, negatives, but in this world, in today's time, right, if you analyze United Nations, that it has clearly failed, right? It has not stopped countries like USA and other countries to misbehave. If you see institutions, global multilateral institutions like World Health Organization, it has also failed. So the only hope, I think, is G20. It means at present that's the only one that we can see. There could be other institutions as well. So G20 has said that it is going to inject this 5 trillion. So that's a very interesting thing. That's a very important thing. Now, if this article is talking about some things, some solutions that we need to have to protect ourselves or protect humanity against this coronavirus. So the first thing is, there should be enough drugs, medical equipments, protective gears available. And if a particular country is not having this thing, then other countries should happily provide. If they have extra stock of all these things, then this should be shared with those countries who are affected by this coronavirus. Then we need to have free flow of information. The most important thing, right? This could be our point number 2. This was one of the main reasons why this whole Wuhan incident came out, isn't it? That China was not sharing information with other nations, and today you know where we are. Third thing is cross-country collaboration on laboratory. There are people who are saying that, experts, they are saying that this whole virus thing means the way it is, this virus, the way it is in USA is different than it is in China. So if there are any sort of differences, then we need to know about it. Easy movement of trained healthcare professionals. If a country is having shortages, then we should create these arrangements where people from other experts from other countries, they can easily travel to the needy country. There should not be any food shortages, right? We will get rid of corona, but we don't want to see a situation where there is hunger and malnutrition. And no doubt this article is ending with this optimism that human talent will triumph over microscopic virus. Of course, we will triumph, but for that, everyone has to play its own part. That's what I believe. And the last statement about leadership, global leadership, the way India has taken a stand as far as the SARC initiative is concerned, we can play a very important role in global leadership as well. If there is no one to direct the world, then India has this capacity. We can direct the world. And many of you will not agree with it, saying that India is not a superpower. But we don't need a superpower. If you go through all the revolutions, you will find this Rosa Parks, right? She was not a president of USA. She was just a common lady. But she took a stand. So it's not always necessary that you have to be strong or you should be in a very, strong position to change the world. If you go through the history of the world, then you will find that even weak people, right? When I say weak, I mean to say they are not rich, they are not famous, they are not the most knowledgeable people. They have this courage and they have this will to change the thing. And I think Indian leadership in India has this capacity as well as will to change. So we can play a leadership role. Now, this article, looking beyond just diagnosis and quarantine, this one is too technical. I think it is predominantly, the main reason for writing this article is to spread this or to create awareness in this medical community. So you find some technical things here, but we can keep those technical things for medical personnel or people in this field. For those students who are preparing for Civil Services Examination and other exams, for us, general understanding, general studies is the most important thing. So this pandemic is upon the world and coronavirus is not the last word. Ebola, Zika, Nipah, SARS, MERS, H1N1, and now we have this COVID-19, and we may see some new viruses in future. You never know, right? I'm not saying that we want to see it, but we have to prepare ourselves for it. Zika virus is spread by Aedes mosquito. This is a GK information, very important for you. Bats seem to be another constant source of new viruses, and seafood has also been stated to be a cause for the Wuhan outbreak. Now, the most important thing and the first requirement is to sequence the genome. Basically, it means breaking it down into small pieces, trying to understand this. The more you can say technical thing, technical in the sense from medical point of view, all those properties and characteristic of this virus, understanding it thoroughly. Like in India as well, you have to collect samples from various different parts, and then you have to match them. Then you have to match those parts or those samples with samples from other countries, so that we can understand this whole virus in a more in-depth fashion. So this is something that we have to do, and that's what this article is talking about, that go beyond diagnosis and quarantine and sequence this genome and go dig deep into this virus. From apathy to action. Now this article is talking about loopholes, or I would say some negative things, or the things that government can improve, I would say. The central government has asked the states to seal borders to prevent lack of workers, and at present we know that migrant workers are in a very pathetic situation, right? They are struggling, they are in sheer panic, and the workers are paying for the callousness of the government in declaring lockdown without even a day's notice. Now, see, the thing is, if you give a day's notice, what will happen? People will migrate, right? People will move from one place to another, and this will spread the virus. So this is a point that I think I don't agree with it. Second thing, if you give 1 day's notice, then people will ask for 1 more day's notice, and then you can never lock down your country. That's the whole point of lockdown, that you stay where you are so that we can stop the spread of this virus. But unfortunately, right, I don't know why, right, I'm not sure why people are so afraid about this thing. Of course, they are worried about their food and other basic things. These are things that are logical, but I think This panic has gone viral as well. Again, let me repeat my words here. This panic, this fear has gone viral, or I would say fear is more contagious than this virus. And this is one of the main reasons why people are, these people are migrant. This migrant workers, their exodus has started. They are going from one place to another. They are walking and they're not obeying orders. And this is a very serious thing. Very, very serious. I have few friends of, right, they are working at grassroots level police department. And, I'm having regular discussions with them about the way things are. I'm trying to understand this whole thing to address my own curiosity. And, and the sad thing that this policeman, all of them, right, it's not that just one person has said this thing to me. At various different places, they are telling me that people are not obeying things. Like, they don't like to beat people, right? But they have to do it because people are not behaving. And I am afraid of this thing, that what will happen when people will, shed this fear of this lathis. What will happen when people will misbehave? When you will see a revolt. We don't want to see this sort of situation. Government has declared 1.7 lakh crore a package for the poor, and one thing that is right in this article is that offering 1 kilo of pulses per month for entire family is not enough. Government should have been a bit more logical. Government is providing 5 kilo extra wheat and rice, but the first 5 kilo is also not free. So government should provide free food. This is the most important thing. There are a few peoples and there are a few videos that are going viral, like people are, storing unnecessary. They are hoarding food. So this is also not right, right? You have to think about other families as well. You cannot have all the food in the world for you. You have to have, if you have few weeks ration, then you should feel safe enough. Then after a few days or few weeks, you can look after for another few weeks ration, and government will provide you food and other things. Now, there are people who are working. There are people who are giving money. They are giving food and everything, right? So we have to have this patience, and we have to create this environment. We have to get rid of this fear. We have to think logically. This is something that is important. This article is also talking about one interesting thing, and I think I agree with this point of view as well, that just giving 500 rupees is not going to be enough. It is important that government provides at least 5,000 rupees per month to migrants and to those poor section of our society. This is very important. This will create a sense of confidence, because if we compare ourselves with the help or cash transfers by other countries, then ours is the least or the lowest. And food, shelter and money, these are the three things that should be provided. We can create these temporary tents and other facilities. These are the things that we have to provide as soon as possible. But the sad thing is, you see, this is just one picture. See, there are so many this sort of pictures, and this is not a lockdown, right? These things are happening because people are in fear. We have to get rid of this fear, and the only practical way of getting rid of this fear is if we provide these facilities as soon as possible to these people. Shelter, they should be given with, tents, let's say, other necessary items, food items. Toilet facilities, drinking water, these are the things that we have to provide so that they can stay where they are. Because state borders are closed, people are not allowed, and migrant workers, Center has said that they should be stopped, and if we don't stop them, then see, the things are already getting out of control. Now, ICMR has said that community transmission is not taking place, so if ICMR is saying that's a good thing. But if you see the numbers here, see 0 to 60 days, right? Days since the first case was detected on 30th January till now, see, you see 9 days to 500 and then 5 days to 1,000. So these days are getting smaller and smaller. Time frame is getting smaller and this spread is getting bigger. And you know it very well. If you're a regular student of this series, then you know what tipping point is. We don't want to hit that tipping point. Good news is that lenders are ready with EMI holiday offer. RBI took a stand, and now lenders are planning to give their customers this option so that they can skip this EMI. They will be notified via emails and text messages. Spain reports a record daily toll of 838. The situation is going to go out of control in US as well. Things are very bleak, right? See, a German state finance minister, he killed himself. He committed suicide because he was not able to absorb this shock of coronavirus and economical shock and other things. Outbreak could climb up to 2 lakh in USA. It can claim, not just spread, it can claim 2 lakh lives in USA. Means somewhere around 2 lakh people will die in USA. That's what Dr. Anthony Fauci is saying. And Mr. Trump has said the same thing. He said that if we can control lives somewhere under 1 lakh or 2 lakh, that will be a big achievement, because estimations are saying that more than somewhere around 2 million people can die. So this is, getting more and more serious. I'm not, trying to create panic in you. I want you guys to say it from a very logical point of view and say it from, very rationally, and pray and do whatever you can so that you are safe and people stay safe. So that's everything in today's discussion, dear friends. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I have asked you a question, so stick your answer in the comment section. Hit the like button if you have learned something from today's discussion. Share this video with other students. Stay safe. God bless you all. Jai Hind.